The meeting of the Shreveport City Council is now being called to order. How about Councilman-elect James Green will give us the invocation, and Councilman Corbin will lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Thank you, God, for this day, and thank you for what you've done for us. We thank you in advance what you're going to do, and we ask you to bless this body, and that we will do and take well of doing well for the city as you have commissioned us to do. We thank you for every good and perfect gift. We ask you to bless everyone in the sound of my voice. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Your jazz group. Right. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilman Bradford.
Present.
Councilman Everson.
Here.
Councilman Jenkins.
Present.
Councilman Corbin.
Present.
Councilman Ford.
Present.
Councilwoman Lynch. And Councilman Gold.
Here. Tomorrow, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the administrative conference from November 26th and the meeting on November 27th. Does any council member have any awards or distinguished guests that they'd like to bring up or speak on at this time? I would say I did speak with Mr. Thompson this morning, and we decided to be in order to bring the council members at large up today, and to also have them sit up and see what's going on behind the real shoot up front. So just wanted to say that we did have, well, you all can introduce yourself if you like.
Let's start with Levette.
Ms. Levette.
Ladies first.
Levette Fuller, Councilwoman-elect, District D.
I'm Grayson Butcher, Councilman-elect, District D.
I'm James Green, Councilman-elect, District F.
And I'm John Nicholson, Councilman-elect for District C.
District C. Just wanted to say that we're glad and ecstatic to have you all up here with us today. And if any other councilmen want to say something at this time, please do.
Well, I just want to welcome the new council members. I know that it's, we'll probably have more longer comments at our next meeting, I think, as our last actual council meeting, but not the one tomorrow, but the one on the 20th, I guess. Huh? But really, it's a great experience. It comes up with a lot of challenges that you won't know through the campaign. Campaigning and serving are so totally different. So enjoy these next few weeks, and hopefully we will leave things as best as we can for y'all to pick them up running.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I think Councilman Bradford had something.
Not yet.
Okay. Mayor Tyler, you have any awards or recognitions at this time?
I just have a couple of announcements, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman and council members. I want you to know that December the 9th, which was yesterday, was Mr. Crawford's last day with the city of Shreveport. He did submit a letter to me the day before my sister passed away. I did not see the letter, of course, and he did speak with me probably the following Monday after she passed away. And he's already gone on to the next chapter of his life. He had another job offer, and he decided that he would take that job offer. So I want you to know that I'll be wearing 2 hats through December 28th. And, of course, Mrs. Jones, Sharika Jones, will be working with me to make sure that nothing falls through the crack. So when you start sending emails and requests, please remember to send those to me and Mrs. Jones. And we are going to make sure that our citizens continue to receive the services while we're here. So my next announcement, of course, is today we will participate in the team announcement for the 2018 Walk-Ons Independence Bowl at 6 p.m. at Independence Stadium. This year we are excited to host Duke University Blue Devils and Temple University Owls on Thursday, December 27th. And so you're invited to come by for that team announcement if you'd like to do so. Also tomorrow at 9 a.m., CarMax will hold its ribbon cutting ceremony, and that's a company that we are very excited about being able to attract here to our great city. Some of you may have already seen a lot of the things going on over there. And so it's a beautiful facility, and so we're going to cut that ribbon tomorrow morning. So you're invited to come by if you have a chance to do so. Those are the announcements today. We'll have some more tomorrow, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Green, does anyone have anything for Mr. Green at this time? Anything relative to property standards? No? Okay. We should have received our revenue collection plan from, well, we did get it by email. I think everyone should have got it from Mr.
Yeah,
Crawford.
last week.
Yes.
And
Surety bond forfeiture report will come tomorrow morning.
tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir.
So, no public hearings. Ms. Jones, will there be any legislation added tomorrow?
Not that we're aware of, no, sir.
Okay. We have any requests to speak here?
I don't see any.
No appointments. There are no items on the consent agenda. Ms. Jones, let's continue with items to be adopted.
Sure. Resolution 137 is rejecting bids received for IFB 18-063, the 2019 annual purchase of chemicals for golf, Cargill, and stadium. Ready for the next section?
Yeah, just one, and I guess it's really a question for Shelley, but is this related to any of the issues we had last year, or is this just procedural this year?
Come on up to the podium. Thank you.
I mean, really my concern is not what the problem is certainly don't want to get behind on having what we need, because obviously it's important to get particularly golf courses and stuff done in the winter.
Absolutely.
So that they're ready.
We are fortunate that we are able to purchase our chemicals through the end of the year with the existing contract, so we're going to stay on schedule. My understanding is maybe Charles or Karen can tell us exactly why they had to reject these bids. It was procedural. It was not overbid.
There were some issues with bidders making adjustments to the bid forms, and so those had to be rejected. We reviewed it and got with finance and made that determination that the best course forward was to do that.
Gotcha.
But I think we can keep moving forward with the
But
bids
we can,
have.
well, with what you have.
We're not going to get behind.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. That was really more of the question.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is that it? Anyone else? All right, Ms. Jones, please proceed.
Resolution 132, authorizing the mayor to execute an acceptance of act of donation between the City of Shreveport and Ramsey Hoffpower Street Development, LLC, hereinafter owner and acting therein through Chase Hoffpower, manager for the water and sanitary sewer mains and related facilities, to serve Southern Trace Phase 5, Section, is that 206?
28.
28. Section 28.
Section 20, excuse me, Southern Trace Phase 5, Section 28.
All right, go on to the next one.
Resolution 133, authorizing the mayor to enter into a donation agreement with the City of Grambling Fire Department to donate a retired 1985 Spartan LT1 111-foot ladder truck. Resolution 134, authorizing a cooperative endeavor agreement between the City of Shreveport and the Parish of Caddo, Louisiana, relative to providing transit system services for citizens living and working in Caddo Parish for a one-year trial period. Resolution 135, declaring city-owned former Arlington Hotel located at 700 Cotton Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, to be surplus property. Resolution 136, declaring city-owned former Fire Station 17 located at 2890 Southland Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana, to be surplus property.
Okay, Councilman Fleury?
Mr. Chairman, in regards to Resolution 135, surplus, I thought that was on the historic. Well, how are we offering that for surplus? If it's
I'd be glad to speak to that, or I know the administration has worked on it for...
We've been working on this one
Yes,
for
y'all.
several months, trying to make sure that we're doing all legal act. And, of course, we're going to ask Attorney Bradford to speak to it. We can also have Mrs. Regal Wood, I believe. Have you been working with it at all? Actually, we have people who are interested in buying that property. It is in bad shape, and if we can get somebody to buy it, then they're going to restore it, and it's going to be beautiful.
If
So
I could
we
compliment the work that y'all have put in on this, I think
Yes.
this is a very good
It's been incredible.
end result for a difficult story. It's
Absolutely.
something good that'll come out of it.
Before Shelley, too, one of the things to remember about the Historic Preservation Commission is that not only do they manage
any public property that is historic. They also manage private property, so this is just related to the transfer of ownership of this property and will not impact, well, we will still have discussions with HBC on how that is disposed of, how the property is either encumbered or disposed of.
Right.
Well, I suppose my question is, if we sell it to someone and they decide they want to tear it down, we have no say in it.
We would because of the historic preservation.
We will.
It's involved in the permitting
They still have
process now.
jurisdiction over privately held properties.
Yes.
And you're right to ask that because that's a new change. Yeah, I mean, that's recent, but I mean, that does make something like this possible.
Yeah.
Mayor, in regards
Councilman,
to,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, ma'am,
Any-
one more. And Mayor, in regards to 136, this fire station out there,
Yes.
I would like tomorrow to ask for a postponement on that. I have something that I have that's developed on that I hadn't had a chance to speak with you about.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask the council to
postpone it?
postpone it, and that'll give me time to speak to you on it. to see
Okay.
if you have any interest.
Will you be able to talk with me before council meeting tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, Ms. Jones, would you proceed with the introduction of resolution?
Yes, ordinance number 129, authorizing the purchasing agent to advertise for and solicit sealed bids to sell to the highest responsible bidder surplus city-owned immovable property and all improvements thereon located at 2890 Southland Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana 71118, commonly referred to as the former Fire Station 17.
If resolution 136 is postponed, then ordinance 129 will need to be postponed as well.
Okay, but I maybe
Just for
I'll speak to
introduction.
the mayor and resolve my question on that.
Okay, thank you.
Because that's only introduction, right?
Yes.
Mr. Councilman Jenkins, I'm sorry.
And then my question on, when there's a 130, obviously 136 and 135 are maybe not similar, but they're in similar issues.
Yes.
And then how come there is not a corresponding 129 for 135?
Well,
I mean, you see, I mean, it's,
There's an
Yes.
operational reason
okay,
why.
I'm sure there is a reason. So.
We wanted to go ahead and start the process of declaring it surplus, but before you can do the IFB, you have to have an appraisal, and we have ordered that appraisal. And we have a structural engineer's report, or a structural report that DDA is working on updating for us, and that we'll give to our appraiser, so that when they appraise the property, they can appraise it at a value, knowing what has to be done to bring it up to standards. But you can't do the IFB without the appraisal, so we have to wait for the appraisal. So it's just,
And the-
this is
and
step
the
one.
fire station's already been appraised.
Yes, sir.
Right, that's
right,
Exhibit A.
it has been.
Yes, we did the appraisal already.
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions?
That it? All right, Ms. Jones, would you proceed with ordinance on second reading and final passage?
Ordinance 79, notifying Union Pacific and other interested parties that the city engineer and director of public works through the office of the mayor are authorized to begin the process to reopen vehicular access to Lake Street from Commerce Street to Cyport Discovery Center, including reopening vehicular access to cross over the Lake Street Railroad grade crossing.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Bradford?
Yeah, Mayor, do we have any progress?
Dates, yes. I was going to ask as soon as you all finished, if I could bring up Patrick Furlong.
If you please.
Mr. Furlong?
The big deal, we've been messing with this for 4 years now, so we're hoping to get it done before we go to the council. But we're going to find out soon.
We've continued to make progress on this project. We got the cost estimate in from Union Pacific. That was the main thing that we've been waiting for. The cost to put in the gates, the quad gates, is $574,798. Our share would be half of that, and the Holiday Inn would burden the other half. Half of that's $287,000. Currently, we have a capital project that had an original budget of $200,000, and there's $187,000 remaining in there. So currently, there's a shortfall for the gates, something that we can discuss.
And we'll be able to look into other projects to see what's left over, so that we can meet the difference.
Is that something, Mayor, that we need to do in tomorrow's budget, or is that something that can kind of be done?
I can get a report of.
Okay, let's just
funds
do a
available.
report to see if there's something that we can do now, or if we can wait later to make the transfer, because we're still waiting on some final approval.
Right. The process starts with the notice of intent that was sent out to Union Pacific, KCS, because they have an interest in the rail, and also to the FRA, Federal Railroad Administration. And the deadline for their response is February 1st.
Okay. So there's a little time.
There's a window.
Thank you very much.
That we can work, and if we need to take a look at funding the difference and the two figures, we can provide you with some options, so the next council will at least know what needs to happen.
Great, thank you
Okay.
so much. And I think I recalled, in the capital budget summary y'all provided us, I think there was maybe another railroad crossing project that might be complete. I don't think it had that much money in it, but it had
Yes.
a good chunk of money.
Yes.
So, thank you so much, man.
Okay, Councilman Bradford.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My concern and question is, in reading the ordinance, it says once we pass this, the process to reopen will start. We want it. I mean, it's been on the table for a while, and we wanted to make sure that once the process started, that we can move forward without the hotel Holiday Inn being interrupted in any way. So, by us moving and adopting this to move forward, would that impede the process anyway? Because when you're talking now into February, you feel so. I don't want to do something that we may have to come back and reverse.
Yes, the question is whether or not we will adopt it.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think we certainly could, it could either be voted down or amended. I mean, it could be amended in a way that changes that deadline, or it could be, I mean, as the author of it, I'm certainly open. I mean, I think the intent is not different. The intent is we want to keep seeing action on this, and we want to keep seeing it get done. So, we may need to change the wording or make the vehicle appropriate to that, because we certainly don't want to cause undue burden on the Holiday Inn. They've been a great partner. So certainly if there's some suggestion of how we might need to do that, I'm very open to it. And again, I think it's important that we just remember the intent hasn't changed, and it's successful so far. These are good reports we keep getting back, so I want to keep the momentum up. But if we need to change the vehicle to do that, or if we need to change it to fit it, that's fine.
Let's have a conversation before tomorrow's time.
Absolutely.
One more thing I'd like to mention, there's an annual maintenance cost of $19,000.
Included with the change order?
Yes.
In addition.
Is that,
and is that borne just by us?
yeah, I was going to say, who pays for it? It's real quick.
That's the other conversation that you do need to have, and I think that's been on the table for a long time. Did we just find out that the maintenance was going to be incurred by the city?
I just found out
Okay.
that there was a maintenance.
All right, and so, now there's a different stipulation, and I know we've been trying to, this council, council before this, did close down that street to help Holiday Inn, and since we've been involved, we've been trying to move it ahead, and so that $19,000 is something that the next administration would need to build into the budget every year to be able to do the maintenance on the crossover. So just so everybody will know, I don't want any surprises like I received when I walked in. So that $19,000 is going to be crucial for your budget. It's not a lot, but I think it's worth it if the council want to consider it.
Councilman Bradford, that's it.
Yes, I mean, that new elevation is important, and I don't know if we approach Holiday Inn about sharing in that cost as well. I mean, that may be something we may need to approach them about. So, but anyway, we'll have the discussion and see how we're going to move forward.
Okay. Councilman Corbin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Patrick, with $574,000, that is for the two-sided gates.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
We've talked previously about how the roadway has eroded during this time, and there needs to be road and crossing upgrades and repairs. Who bears that expense, and do we have an estimate of it?
We do not have an estimate. I can look into it. And
I would hate to get to the end of February, March, construction starts, we have gates there, and it's impassable because, it's eroded over the past
Yes, sir.
5 or 6 years. So I think that timing, again, is going to be crucial in this. And my second question is, in our agreement with the Holiday Inn, was it that they would pay 50% of the crossing upgrades, period, or did they put aside a larger amount and we would make up the difference? I seem to remember something about they put a larger amount in escrow and we would pay the difference, not we would split it down the middle.
I've heard escrow mentioned, but the only agreement I've ever seen is what's written in the ordinance.
And also, I mean, it does sound like some of this information, for instance, I mean, this is clearly the first time I've heard about the maintenance cost, and I mean, I think some of this is new, so obviously as a partner who has been in very good faith thus far, I imagine they'll be reaching out to Holiday Inn, and there could be some other, I mean, I think there's some other ways to address this, I mean, maybe they handle the difference in the upfront capital costs and we commit to the maintenance, or maybe, I mean, there's got to be some ways to address this, I mean, but obviously there's some additional discussion that's going to need to
Yes.
I just want to be sure that we're looking at the
big picture.
complete picture.
Right.
And I guess my final comment is to the incoming council. When you get to your second meeting in February, if this is still out there lingering,
Yes.
I'm not going to say be tolerant. I'm going to say we have seen this drag out for a long time, and we've had a lot of promises and not a lot of action from the railroad. And I don't think it's fair to continue to leave this closed on empty promises. And
Yeah.
Patrick, thank you for everything you've done on this.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And let me just ask something, Mr. Chairman and council members. Would you like for staff to, have more conversations with maybe the management at the Holiday Inn downtown about the costs? Because here again, the Union Pacific and or KCS have held us up on it according to, I don't know when the ordinance was done. When was the ordinance done? 2013, 2014, but before the new council came in, before I came in. So
Yeah, I was thinking we ought to at least give these other 3 or 4 new people a little bit of a background of how we got here.
Yes.
Just because
Yes.
no matter, as much as we wanted to get this done before the end of this year,
Yes.
it clearly is not going to get done. So my recollection, Jeff or Mike, I believe in the fall of 2013, Holiday Inn had just lost their brand, okay? And they came to the council and said, look, we are struggling to get that brand back because...
And it was a new ownership group and several changes.
There were several things, but the lion's share of the issue was because of the trains having to honk their horns every time they go through that intersection by law. They said it was difficult for to maintain the brand, sell the rooms, all the rest of it. So they asked if we could work out a deal for a year. I believe the initial proposal was a year, in which time we would negotiate with the railways and say, okay, we're going to propose a plan, and if the railways bless this piece of structure, these gates, then we would move ahead. And the Holiday Inn, or the new management team there, agreed to fund 50% or 250. I can't remember what the numbers were, but globally 50% of this project if we would agree to it. And for the longest time, there's a little time of which we didn't really put forth a engineering proposal, but the longest part of the delay has been the the railroad to bless what we have put forward. And that happened, I don't know, for 3 years. So finally...
The delay that we were responsible for was about a month and a half.
Our
The delay that
delay-
they were responsible for has
Absolutely.
been about 3 years, 3.5 years.
So, I didn't want to suggest that we had any... But anyway, long and short of it is, we put this on there because we said, the three of us, that if this deal is not fixed by the time we leave council, then we're going to let it open again, because the businesses that live on the street suffer by not having the street traffic. So that's kind of the background of how we are, and we've seen a lot of movement with somebody new running the engineering department, and a lot of movement with the railroad, with the new person in charge of the actual conversation from the railroad.
I think eventual persistence on the part of the city of
City
Shreveport
administrator.
resulted in a new project manager being assigned to this job with the railroad department, which was good,
Absolutely.
because the person who was working on their side
Absolutely.
seemed to be why we weren't getting a response. So they have a new
And-
person in charge now, and they're making progress, but it's very late in terms of our timing. You know, it's the end of our terms.
Absolutely.
However, progress is being made now, and at the same time, that partner that owned the Holiday Inn now also owns Chateau Suites Best Western, or Chateau Suites, and they are renovating it in the process of getting a new flag as well. So they have some concerns about, you know, the amount of money that they're putting into those and the jobs they want to be able to bring. They certainly have a very high level of interest in making sure that this project happens. Of course, everybody, all the other businesses along the street have a high level of interest in having access to traffic. We all, as a community, have a high interest level in seeing that be a safer intersection, because, as you may or may not know, that's one of the higher frequencies of car crashes at that intersection. It's in our city is right there. So it's good. You know, it's a good thing to get done on everybody's account. We just want to see it get done timely as possible, and certainly we seem to be on track for that now.
Yes.
After a while of not being.
Okay, all right. So we'll bring some additional information. And I need to say that, you know, with Mr. Furlong, and I actually made a call myself to push it, even though you didn't say that, and I think we did tell you that. But we are pushing it, and we'll try to get the other information, particularly so that the new council members will know exactly what has happened, the background, and what they need to do going forward. We think that it's going to take place, because we have really done a lot of work to try to make sure that it does happen. We just need to take a look at where the funding will come going forward for the maintenance, and who will incur that expense. But we will certainly do our part in the next 2 weeks to make sure that we leave it in a good place. Okay?
And my question is, have we considered asking the railroad to fund? I mean, because they are a big beneficiary of this, because they now don't have. I mean, they don't have to comply with the slowing down process and the rest. I know we've gone a long way, but don't they fund maintenance of other street railroad intersections in this?
Well, you know, and I'm going to ask Patrick to come up, but let me say this. We did ask those questions. Just know, as a CEO, we did ask those questions. They don't really have any reason to change what's going on. It's not going to impact them anyway. So I don't know why they would want to invest more money. We're doing this as a city to help our businesses. And because Holiday Inn downtown is investing another, $6 million in properties to be able to do upgrades in our city, I think it's incumbent upon us to make it happen. It doesn't matter to the railroad. They don't benefit one way or the other, according
They
to what I
benefit
was
the most
told.
by just keeping it closed
Yeah.
altogether. They just want to do away with any streets that cross. They just want their railroad. They don't
That's
care about our
exactly
streets.
right. They don't have a dog in this hunt, so to speak. Okay.
They prefer not to have the gates because they're expensive in their maintenance, and they also prefer to blow their horn as much as they can to reduce risk and liability.
Yeah.
So,
But to answer his question in regards, and
I
I have another question. I mean, in regards to upkeep of other highway, street interchanges with railroad, who are responsible for replacing those rails or whatever the damage or destruction may be?
If it's rail
I'd have to-
infrastructure, it's
The railroad.
the railroad.
Right.
So there's some issues with the railroad and the piles that are along that intersection. They have to replace that.
Correct.
Okay,
But,
okay.
But we don't, the standard is determined by the FRA.
Yeah.
So it may be inconvenient for us, but still within the parameters acceptable
Okay.
under the railway administration's definition.
Right.
So,
Okay.
We
And-
can certainly ask.
Yeah, I agree, Mayor. I think movement is occurring, and I think we can get to a resolution, but we may not be able to get to a resolution within the next 15 or 30 days, and that's why I want to come back to address Councilman Jenkins when he said that when we made that ordinance that. We said if it's not finished by the time of our term, we'll go ahead and reopen it. And I think that's the wrong approach. I think we shouldn't reopen it until we are clear on do we have the right agreements and the right understanding between the parties. We have to consider a lot of factors. I mean, the Holiday Inn factor. And the Holiday Inn extension factor with the new renovations is a major factor.
Yes.
I mean, certainly there's no big eyes to use when it comes to business opportunities and business levels. We know that there are businesses who's eager to open this crossing, but we know that in regards to what the city benefit is from it, the revenue from the tax base and the job level is much higher than all those others put together. So I'm just saying I don't want to see any interference with that. We've been this way for going on 4.5, 5 years, and I think once we longer than that, then we need to be cautious and just be fair and say let's wait till we get a document that we all is in agreement with, and not be hastily doing something just because a council is leaving office and they won't be around to be responsible for what happens if it fails.
Thank you, Mr. Furlong.
Thank you.
I had one more from Councilman Corbin.
Patrick, I hate to keep asking the same question, but I know the devil's in the details.
Sure.
And I look at our legislation, and I hear the conversation that we're having about adding crossing, and then our legislation talks about a no-blow zone. Are all parties on the same page, mainly Union Pacific, that we're not just adding railroad arms, we're doing this and creating a no-blow zone that they will enforce?
That's what the notice of intent is for. It's a mechanism that the FRA has in place. This gives Union Pacific an opportunity to review basically what we're proposing and to respond. So we don't know their official response yet.
Because if they came back and said, no, there's too many, it's an intersection of tracks, there's too much going on,
There's
we're not gonna make
a
it
lot
one
going on.
zone, then we have decisions to make.
There's a lot going on. There's crossings close by,
Yeah.
which complicate it.
Yes.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
And so is KCS involved in any way with this particular one? I think that's important.
Yes, it's a Union Pacific track, but they have certain agreements in place to use each other's tracks. So it said that KCS has an interest in this track.
Okay.
So they were copied on the notice of intent.
And we have the 60 days from FRA
Yes.
with our notice of intent.
So the notice of intent gives the railroad 60 days to respond. The deadline is February 1st for their response.
Right. And we have had conversation, so we're trying to keep everybody on the same sheet. I just want council members to know that. So I've had conversations with both, and so just know that we are on the same sheet. We're just trying to wait on their process again while we nudge them to not string us out another 5 to 6 years. So we'll keep pushing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilman Epperson, that was all?
No, it was on another item, but I don't think we've read the other agenda items, did we?
No.
Not
Okay.
yet.
Well, then it's a request to speak after we read the rest of the agenda items on this section.
Ms. Jones, you can continue, please.
Ordinance 115 to add new chapter 37 to the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances relative to creating a local codified register identifying the city's officially authorized, certified, and designated districts, including but not limited to cultural districts, economic districts, special taxing districts, opportunity zones, and historic districts, as well as including historic landmark sites, and individually designated historic properties listed on the National Register of Historic Places in the city of Shreveport, Louisiana. And this ordinance has one amendment. Ordinance 119, amending the 2018 Water and Sewerage Enterprise Fund budget. This ordinance has one amendment. Ordinance 120, amending the 2018 Riverfront Development Special Revenue Fund budget. Ordinance 121 is amending the 2018 Downtown Entertainment Economic Development Area Special Revenue Fund budget. Ordinance 122 is amending the 2018 Grants Special Revenue Fund budget. This is one that the administration is asking to be postponed. It gives finance a few more weeks to have more up-to-date numbers. Ordinance 123, amending the 2018 General Fund budget. This one also the administration is asking to be postponed for that same reason. Ordinance 124, amending the City of Shreveport, Louisiana 2018 General Fund budget, appropriating the funds authorized herein. Ordinance 125 is amending the 2018 Community Development Special Revenue Fund budget. This one the administration is asking again also to be postponed so that we can get more up-to-date numbers. Ordinance 126, declaring the city's intention to acquire full ownership and certain adjudicated properties for Community Development's Heritage Place project. Ordinance 128, amending the 2018 budget for the MPC Special Revenue Fund budget. Ordinance 127 is zoning case number C-75-18, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the northeast corner of Snow Street and Butler Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, Caddo Parish, from C1 Neighborhood Commercial District and R3 Multifamily Residential District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District. Do you want to keep going with the budget?
Yeah, if there was anything in that, Jeff, what you wanted?
Oh, I was just going to thank again the city attorney's office and MPC staff for the work on that next section, and this is the final section of these updates to this historic preservation code. That's this ordinance 115 is what it is, and they have done such a thorough job with it. It's really a well-written document, and I know they're still maybe doing once more looking through for any commas and T's that need dotting or whatever. But really, I had a chance to look through it the other day, shared it with a few other people, and for as detailed a document it is very well done. So look forward to voting on that. If anybody has any questions, let us know.
All right, Councilman Fleury.
Councilman Everson, my question on that is, in the final document was the HPC. I have to see that.
No, I think it's fair. I mean, I think it's been
fairly close to what they've seen
on the agenda.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be very different than the last draft that they've seen. There could be some refining language a little bit, but yeah, it should be close to what they know. And in fact, a lot of it is just a reflection of what's already written. It kind of takes stuff that's written in several different places and compiles it into one place so that it's easy to find for people that want to know about our local historic policies. Like it kind of puts it in one place. And so it really isn't that it's changing what it says. It's kind of making it clear and consolidating it, organizing it better. So they have seen a very recent draft, and Karen's nodding. I think they've seen pretty much the draft we'll be voting on.
Is it comfortable? All right, Ms. Jones, you can proceed, please.
Ordinance 91, adopting the 2019 Capital Projects Fund budget. This ordinance has 4 amendments. Ordinance 92, adopting the 2019 Riverfront Development Fund budget. Ordinance 93, adopting the 2019 General Fund budget. This ordinance has 3 amendments. Ordinance 94, adopting the 2019 Retained Risk Fund budget. Ordinance 95, adopting the 2019 Metropolitan Planning Commission Fund budget. This ordinance has 1 amendment. Ordinance 96, adopting the 2019 Community Development Special Revenue Fund budget. Ordinance 97, adopting the 2019 Grants Special Revenue Fund budget. Ordinance 98, adopting the 2019 Shreveport Redevelopment Agency Special Revenue Fund. Ordinance 99, adopting the 2019 Downtown Entertainment Economic Development Special Revenue Fund budget. Ordinance 100, adopting the 2019 Golf Enterprise Fund budget. Ordinance 101 is adopting the 2019 Airport Enterprise Fund budget. This ordinance has 2 amendments. Ordinance 102, adopting the 2019 Water and Sewerage Fund budget. Ordinance 103 is adopting the 2019 budget funding contractual services provided to Sportran by Metro Management Associates, Inc. Ordinance 104 is adopting the 2019 Downtown Parking Enterprise Fund budget. Ordinance 105 is adopting the 2019 Convention Center Enterprise Fund budget. Ordinance 106 is adopting the 2019 Convention Center Hotel Enterprise Fund budget. Ordinance 107 adopting the 2019 Debt Service Fund budget. Ordinance 108 is adopting the 2019 Street Special Revenue Fund budget. This ordinance has 1 amendment. Ordinance 109 is adopting the 2019 Downtown Development Authority budget.
All right. Mr. Fleur, is that old?
No, that's new. Flashing, breaking news.
All right.
Councilman, Vice Chairman Jenkins, are you a country music fan?
Marginally.
You ever heard that song, "These Boots Are Made for Walking"? I'm going to walk right on out of here.
Yes.
This $195,000 on number 95, amendment number 1, that's going to bring us, you're the author of that, I'm looking at the amendment number 1.
Okay, what number are we
95 on the MPC.
Amendment number 1. So I believe that is 175,600. Yes, sir.
Okay. And that should, just give me a little explanation. We're trying to bring that back to what the formula is, right?
Okay, yes. So the MPC director has asked to be restored to the 2017 funding level. Okay? The difference, the parish did enhance their contribution this year marginally, but they did increase it. So that made the delta from 195.6 to 175.6. I had asked, if we were going to contribute this additional 175,600, is there a way that we could ensure those resources are going specifically and exclusively to the benefit of Shreveport residents? And so Mr. Clark has allocated that money to fund a couple of positions that have been gapped that are focusing specifically on Shreveport activities. Hence, that's where the number is, and given in line with the way our conversation was during the budget meeting. And listen, I'd like it the other way. I mean, I'd like it 80-20, and we're getting closer. To our projected ultimately 75-25. But at this point, the way I think fairly is that if these resources are going to city-specific activities, then I think that's how it seems equitable. And you hate to put them in a position where we're asking them to do as much as we're asking them to do now without giving them the resources to do.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Tyler. Mayor Tyler, you had a question?
Thank you. I mean, I don't have a question. I do want to make a statement for the record. I feel that Mr. Clark has done a great job, and we talked about these amendments actually today during staff meeting, and I wish there were some other fund that we could pull these dollars from instead of our general budget reserves. I don't want the Mary-elect Perkins to come in and find what I found, where we constantly was pulling monies from the reserves, which created an impact on our bond rating. I had nothing to do with that, although I got blamed publicly in the media, because when we got the report from Moody's, it clearly showed that there was a constant reduction of your reserves, from previous administration and previous council, because you all approved the budgets, and that created some of the problems with the bond rating. So I just want to put that on the table. I mean, it's up to you as the council to do this, but I do want to tell you that you are, again, pulling monies from your reserves when you need the money there so that you could have some stability. But so, with that being said, thank you so much for allowing me to say that for the record.
Yes, ma'am. Councilman Jenkins. That was it?
No, I really had questions for Councilman Everson on the two parking projects.
Yes.
And then I have another question afterwards. So that's okay. So tell me, and I know you had kind of alluded to this, but I'm not sure I got the full scope.
Yeah, so I'll just give it a general overview, and let me know if you have more specific questions after that. But what we're doing here is there is some money that was set aside back in 2009 for a additional.
So everybody know we're talking about the capital budget.
Yes, capital budget, not
capital
operating.
budget, and I believe I'm Amendment 1 and 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Just so everybody can follow.
Yes. And so in that year, they put some money to build additional levels on the parking garage across from the, what is now the aquarium and Riverview Hall that's under renovation right now. The money was not enough to really add layers to that parking garage, but it was a substantial amount of money. There's some discussion about potentially being able to charge for parking there and then do a revenue bond to pay for additional levels. But that hasn't materialized yet. And so what we have is, some substantial dollars that are sitting in that account for some time now. And so what I did is I looked at some other parking enhancements that have come to, that have been requested recently. And there's plenty of money to do those and still leave a balance in that original project that can be, we can still explore that project in the future, or the future council members can, look and see if that project at the parking garage is something that they want to, continue to do or not. But what we would be able to fund with that is there's a tire store that was torn down across from B'nai Zion and the Scottish Rite Temple across from the fountain. Not the fountain.
Providence House?
Providence House.
Fairmont. Fairmont. Right near Providence House, yes. So that building was torn down, which was it was good to remove the blight. But now we have an opportunity to do kind of a gateway wayfinding kind of station with some parking that would enhance that area, allow it to be more developable into the Shreveport Common Plan, as well as to provide the parking lot for the Shreveport Common Park. And then there are some, there's a smaller project budget in there for updated wayfinding signage throughout downtown. I think if you drive through downtown, you'll see now there's like sort of some older brown signs, some newer blue and yellow signs, some mid-period green signs, there's lots of different kind of competing signage throughout downtown. And the idea is to kind of go to one consolidated signage style that is easier for people to follow and find their way around downtown. The other is a request. We've, for a long time, had requests from cyclists, and we have some bike lanes that are going in a portion of downtown for bike locks, and there's a very inexpensive thing that retrofits all of our parking meters with a with a very practical, kind of no frills, but very usable little bike locking system that would be a real enhancement for getting around downtown, for people to be able to get around other than just by car and foot. And then the balance of that can be used for, future parking projects to be determined. I do name a few that I think would be good, but, I sort of in the project say the first couple that I think are a priority, and then I say, there's an employee parking lot over here that for the Shreveport employees, City of Shreveport employees, that is in bad need of an upgrade. There are parking lots near the municipal auditorium. There's a number of opportunities to put that money to use where it'll enhance parking and traffic flow, improve safety, and kind of enhance the ability to develop our downtown. So, I just wanted to put that money in a more usable project that was, maybe met the current needs and was able to complete some projects instead of sitting in an account with hopes for something that may one day come for another decade.
And question, so like things like, what do you call the signs?
Wayfinding signage. Yeah, that's a few $1,000s. I mean, that's a very inexpensive.
Point of order? You saying point of order?
Yeah, point of order. I was on the board.
No,
I'm still the original.
He was questioning Councilman Nelson. Sorry.
On the same subject?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm talking about. Is this part. So that's. I mean, that isn't. We're establishing this new project, but we're not directing monies for the project.
I mean, it puts money to parking enhancements, and then it spells out in there what kind of an order of what those parking enhancements are. But after the first couple, I mean, it's flexible. The language is. So it can be. I mean, it says up to $25,000 for the wayfinding signage and bicycle locks. I think it'll be substantially less than that, less than half of that. But it's still up to that much. And then $350,000 for the gateway / and by the way, I should clarify, this money comes from downtown parking fund, so it can really only be used for parking enhancements.
That was my next question.
So this isn't like money that's from the Riverfront Fund or from the general fund or from a bond issue. This is money that was created by parking revenues. It can only be used on parking, downtown parking stuff. So that's what we're doing, is essentially just putting it to use instead of just kind of sitting in an account waiting for something to change. That's really the primary difference.
Okay, and then my other question was relative to the Riverfront Fund. So is the Riverfront Fund at zero right now? Is there no reserve in the Riverfront Fund?
That's the projection, yes.
Okay. So in the civic appropriations, if you will, category, the civic appropriations still has non-designated civic appropriations, but the civic appropriations itself, I mean, the riverfront itself doesn't have any balance left in it.
Right.
But the category, I mean, like the civic appropriations, there's a category for it. It's just not assigned yet.
That's what I'm saying. So, for instance, there's something in here that we could use civic appropriations money for without taking from the reserve, right? Is there any reason we can't do that?
That can be done.
Okay, gotcha. I mean, I'll talk to the author afterwards, but I just want to make sure I understood if we don't have any left in the riverfront or if we have none. That's it. Okay, thank you.
All right. Councilman Fleury.
My question was the parking lot area around the municipal auditorium. Seems like to me there's ample parking over there. I noticed over at Murphy Street by the bus station, we just enclosed that, and it looks like we overlaid it and put in some cross-arms there to start charging on parking of that. It's just a thought. I really support, but I know when Councilman Bradford and I go downtown to the club, he parks in the parking garage there across from the casino, and I park over on Commerce. Seems there's ample parking down there. Well, anyway,
there is. No, you're right.
I think you may have blown his spot.
I think those are some good parking spots. But no, in fact, you're right. There is some good parking. But when they have, because the municipal keeps having these huge shows that are really selling out big, and so it's really a matter of kind of that project would be maybe just adding a different entrance or restriping it, kind of taking advantage of what space is there. That's not suggesting building a new parking lot or anything. That's the same parking lot that's over there. It's just enhancing it so it can maybe hold more cars in the same amount of space.
Okay. I think Councilman Bradford parks over there, so Miss Bradford won't see his car out there. So
What club are y'all talking about?
I can't say.
I'm not familiar.
It's a joke.
Councilman Bradford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I didn't have opportunity to review a lot of these amendments. As you could well expect, my previous week was full. But I got a series of concerns and questions I need to express. Mr. Floyd, I'm sorry, Councilman Efferson, you brought some amendments that I necessarily don't have an issue with. But I wanted to ask you, why did you wait to this moment to make this appeal when we don't have the complete understanding of everything that you're saying? It's in an amendment. Did you refer this to somebody, or did you talk to the administration regarding how we can redirect these capital funds?
Well, I mean, it's the capital time when we pass the capital budget. That's why I'm offering a capital budget amendment.
But I'm just saying, as relate to implementing these various items.
I mean, I did communicate with city staff. Yeah.
Okay. And again, I'm very sensitive to what the mayor's sensitive to, because 4 years ago we were sitting where you all are sitting, and there was some discussions from the previous mayor. Certainly, I mean, he tried, I think, 12 times to pass a resolution. I mean, an ordinance to utilize funds that, once he left, he wasn't going to be responsible, accountable for how those funds would be replenished or be applied. There are several amendments here. And now the MPC, Mr. Councilman Jenkins, certainly we want to do all we can to strengthen the MPC. Your communication with the director, I mean, sort of urged you to make these amendments. What's your rationale?
Okay, so I don't remember if you were in the budget meeting for MPC or not.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so and I'm not being critical whether you were or not. There seemed to be interest amongst a lot of the council members, and I shouldn't say from the administration, because I didn't really ask them formally. Because one discussion was they put the same amount in the preceding year that we had lowered it to, based on our discussion with the old director. Okay, so that's what the discussion level was. There seemed like certainly 3 or 4 council members that were interested doing our part to restore them to the 2017 level. So that was the impetus. And I believe one council member said, well, we'll allow Councilman Jenkins to propose an ordinance, if I remember the dialogue correctly. And so that's why I did it.
Okay.
I mean, that's truly, if I'm speaking, that's kind of how I went.
I have no issue with that. I just want us to communicate and understand the rationale of what we're doing. And let me just say lastly, Mr. Chairman, and I see some others. And I'm just going to be as honest as I can and say this. I believe in accountability. I'm accountable. Everybody's accountable. But when we make decisions, and we're headed out the door where we won't be around to be accountable, be responsible for things, I look at that twice. I will not support any amendment to move any money out of civic appropriation. I think the incoming council should have a say in that. We won't deal with that until the spring. Robbing Peter to pay Paul, I think, is something that we need to be cautious, especially when we are depriving others the opportunity to have input. The new council have always had input in how we would distribute those funds. But at the same time, I know we have to run the city. We have to do what we have to do. I asked the clerk to do an amendment on where's my amendment?
Ordinance 93, is that the one, Mr. Bradford? Councilman Bradford?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Ordinance 93.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you. And my intent is that, again, that was through our tenure, that was reduced for the Black Culture Arts Coalition. And oftentimes, when something appears in a budget or an amendment that appears to be pro-black, I get resistance. It don't tend to be that way, because we're all citizens and we all pay taxes, so we all should be beneficiaries of how tax dollars return to the community. It's not just because they call themselves Black Culture Art Coalition should not be an impediment on us trying to assist them in providing services to the constituents in which they serve. But we reduce them tremendously, and I'm asking that we look at that now. Mayor and I had a conversation, and I'm open, and I asked the clerk to look at an alternative, because certainly we do not want to deplete our general reserves to the extent that she inherited. She did inherit some challenges, and again, her predecessor wasn't around to explain what happened, and some of the council members who left, it wasn't around to do that as well. So let's be prudent and let's be open. Let's serve the citizens. Let's serve the city with respect and with diligence, and knowing that we got to live by our means. We can't live by our mouths. But at the same time, we could provide services and wholesome activities for our residents.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, and this is my last statement, I want those who are making decisions to make them in a way that if I was coming on the council, I could agree with that. I could support that. And not do things that once I'm gone, and y'all fend the best way y'all can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Bradford. Councilman Corbett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'll just note that our amendment sheet here is a little misleading because it says proposed 2018 amendments, and that should be 2019 amendments. I don't know if that has confused anybody. I hear the implication that some of these amendments are last-minute ditches as current council is walking out the door. And it's our job as current city council to take the budget that administration gave to us in October, review it, and prepare amendments just like we've done for the past 4 years. The mayor's finished her job. She's given the budget to us. And we as a council come up with our amendments, lobby to get our votes, and make the changes, and then ultimately pass the budget tomorrow. Now, whether we pull $175,000 or $25,000 or whatever out of reserves, and we think that's a significant amount, if it's something we believe strongly in and we don't want to deplete the reserves anymore, then we need to dig a little deeper and find out what department still has some money sitting in it. I'm sure there are plenty of departments that have money they are not going to spend between now and the end of December that we could make some of these amendments out of. But I just don't think it is fair to imply that any or all of these amendments are being done as council members are walking out the door. I mean, there's a whole list of amendments I considered. Talking with Councilman-elect Busher, he's aware of some things that are on the radar for the city and for District D specifically, and I think he'll follow through with this. But I think take a step back and let's look at these, work through what each amendment does, how it fits into what we've been doing, and realize what our job is tomorrow. I intend to keep working until whatever time inauguration is on the 29th. And at that point, the new council comes on board. And they can take it from there. If they need to do some budget amendments in January, have at it. But we have a job to do, and we have a charge, and I think we need to move forward with that.
Mr. Chairman, on that point, for the new members to be, the charter says that the council must adopt a budget by the 15th of this month, and so amending what has been given to the council is part of that process. However, as soon as you take office, you can amend what they've done. So they have to do what they have to do, and then you can do what you think is right.
All right.
And did you hear Mayor Tyler?
I couldn't hear half of what Art was saying, but that's okay. Did y'all hear it? That's important.
No, I was just saying they are obligated by charter to to adopt a budget by the 15th.
Oh, yeah. I heard that
part of that process is to offer amendments and to decide whether or not those amendments are adopted. But as soon as a new council takes office, they can undo everything that's been done if they want to.
All right.
Sorry, I was just going to also say, I do hear, and after having been around a few minutes here, I do hear a lot of times people talk about during transitions and whatnot. But when we came into office, there were lots of ongoing things. I mean, that's always going to be the case in an organization that's dynamic. I mean, government is a dynamic process, and there's going to be times when people enter and leave and things that aren't completed. So if someone has an idea that's meritorious, that's good for the city, good for the future of our community, I would hate for them to just not do it because they thought they couldn't see it be completed before they left. On the other hand, Art's absolutely right. I mean, all this could change at the next council meeting after we're gone, But I think that, like Councilman Bradford's offered an amendment that I think is important to him, and I think that the rest of us have the right to offer amendments that we think are important to our constituencies as well. So I think the administration prepared a great budget, and it takes a long time to prepare a budget, and sometimes in the process of preparing a budget, priorities may shift, facts may change. Like I say, it's a dynamic thing. So that's why we have to review this. That's why we do another pass at the end of the year, and it's part of the process. It's a good process. I think it's served us pretty well.
Okay. If that's it, then where are we now? Y'all got me off track. We're down to Mr. Thompson at the end of the table, legislation to be removed.
None that I'm aware of, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We have one appeal. We have property standards.
On the street.
Good afternoon. I'm Jimmy James. I'll be filling in for Mr. Green today. Only appeal we have today is 219 Columbia. And where we are on this one is there really hasn't been any progress on the house since last month, or since we put it in, really, except for the cutting down of the branches and tree parts. That's about it. We spoke to Ms. Wood, which she's supposed to be here today to explain, where she's going with this property. And our stance on it is we would like to just proceed with demolition on it. If she's not going.
She's here.
Oh, she's here? Okay.
So this is another one where, in terms of ongoing things, you want to make sure people are aware of what's going on. This is a situation where this house looked bad for a long time. The owners came and made a plea. They got some resources that started directing towards it, but now the progress seems to have stopped. And so I want to make sure that everybody is aware of what's going on here. Somebody lives next door to this. Somebody lives across the street from this. This is a home in a neighborhood. On the other side of this is the Centenary College Art Department. It's a case where the house was starting to fall into disrepair. The woman who lived there did pass away. Her children took it on. It's been appealed. It's been held up at different levels. It finally got to the city council. I think the complaint started before your term, right, Mayor Tyler?
Yes.
I think, and I think by the time it finally got to us, it was maybe earlier this year. And so we've allowed a little bit of a postponement to see some progress. We did see some initial progress, but now it's starting to look worse than it did. And so it's a tough call, because on the one hand, if you tear it down, now you have an empty lot that probably will stay empty forever, and you'll have to mow it, and that costs the citizens a lot of money. But would you rather that or a fallen down house? It's a tough call to make, So I hope that the owner has got some other options that hopefully we can hear about, or maybe we will hear a little bit more about what the plan is, because it's starting to be kind of disappointing. Today was a day when I was hoping we would have seen enough progress that we could say dismiss it and move on, but it's not looking like the case.
Before Ms. Wood comes up,
Councilman.
sorry.
Councilman Jenkins.
Okay, so in whatever October, we had two criteria for moving forward. One, I believe, is this what you were going to ask something? Sorry, well, I didn't mean.
That's okay.
Okay, since I made the deal because somebody wasn't here that day. So the two things were, one, that she had executed a contract with a replicable contractor, which I believe Terrence and Councilman Everson told us that that had occurred, and that a permit was pulled. But the paperwork here does not show that. So my question, and I just want to make sure where we are on this thing. Did she ever pull a permit, and did she ever sign a contract?
I think she did pull the permit on it. I think the guys that she hired to do the work, they came out, cut down the trees and all of that. But as far as the other work, they just left, and I guess they haven't been back out there yet.
Okay. So, but from your perspective, you think there was a permit?
I think so.
It doesn't show it on the list here, so that's
what Oliver's looking at is the timeline.
Yeah.
And it looks like I don't see it on the timeline either.
I remember.
But I do remember a report.
Okay.
Mr. Wood, do you have that information, Mr. Wood? He is my director for this department. For this division. If I recall, if I may, last month, about a month ago, we mentioned, and I believe when we postponed it November 12th, there was a mention that the owner had pulled the permit, and she did get somebody with a reputation that could take care of this, and that it would be done, some improvements would be evident by the first meeting in December. That's what I recall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mr. Green is not here today, so I don't know, exactly where all the paperwork is, but he did indicate that to us. Mm-hmm. But it appears that, as I spoke with staff this morning, no other progress has been made on the house itself.
Yeah.
And so we recommended demolition way back, and we've been postponing it. Mm-hmm. So it's up to you, the council members, today to decide whether or not you will accept the administration's recommendation.
And there is no permit attached to the buildings itself, so we may not be.
Is it okay that we hear from Ms. Wood?
Yeah, let's invite her up.
Okay.
I just want, from the city's perspective, do we know if there was, because we definitely talked about it.
And there may have been a permit for one thing, and that may have expired now, or I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
While we're hearing from Ms. Wood, can somebody walk to permits and find out?
We can check the permit. Mr. Wood, Mr. Mike Wood, our director, can you check with your department to see? Thank you. He's checking even as we speak.
I knew he was on it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Darlene Wood. I am the daughter of Catherine Angel, who owns the property. And thank you for the opportunity to at least get to say what has happened or confirm, as you can see, what hasn't happened. Under my good faith, I did contract a person who told me they were a contractor and that they would get the work done. He outlined what needed to be done that would satisfy the council by what y'all had said, and then we went forward saying that he would do it. I would have to have X amount of money, and we agreed. Not a physical contract, simply because I go to church with this gentleman and he's in my Sunday school class. So I had it on good faith. I felt that he would continue the job. The job hasn't been continued. However, he got started, and in my ignorance, I'm so apologetic to you as a council of educated people that can see by those pictures that nothing from the last meeting to this one, nothing has taken place. But I felt like I have let myself down. I felt like I have let Mr. Green down, who has been an excellent mediator between me and you guys. And then ultimately letting you down as a council. That what we talked about, it hadn't gotten done yet. I don't know what else to tell you other than the man did not continue to show up. And in this time, I have been put in contact with a group that would love to rehab the home, because they do not want the community to have that eyesore, and they have funds regulated to them to do this work. I'm asking, is there any other thing other than that? That's my only next step I have right at this moment, is to get in contact with that person, which we've already talked, but they live out of town, to come and view the house, make an offer, because they're working with a church locally here. It's a local Shreveport church. So that's my only option right now, unless you have more for me that I can do. I don't have access to contractors. I don't know who to call or talk to. Okay. But I would love to have an opportunity for the house to be saved, not demoed.
I got an interjection from Attorney Bradford.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Who was the original contractor you hired?
Jason Waddle, Unlimited Solutions, LLC.
Did you make a payment to him?
I made a small cash payment for the mess that you see in the yard.
So he provided the service for what you paid for, but not any additional service?
He said he needed a small down on the tree work that he had started on, and
could he get that from me? Me trusting that, I gave him the amount that he asked for.
Did you require any other payment for the actual work to be done on the home? 'Cause that's
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet, no.
And what's the name of the church that wants to provide the service?
It's a Presbyterian church.
Presbyterian Church has a fund that they work with the Louisiana
Oh,
Trust
boy,
for
y'all
Historic
jumped on that real quick. Y'all know more than I do.
Yes, but
That's
I
a
mean,
shame.
Well, I mean,
It's your house.
but I don't. This is somebody else trying to help me, and I have the man's name, but I don't have the full name of the church. And I thank y'all for the time that y'all had to listen to this. I see y'all have bigger fish to fry just sitting in this meeting and seeing what all y'all are having to tend with, and then we have to come and look at something piddly like this right here.
Well, it's not piddly to your neighbor.
But I know I feel that way, that's how maybe how y'all look at it, but it's something that's doable. It can be done. It's just there's been such deadlines, and it makes me feel like the deadlines are for other reasons. I don't know that.
Deadlines are a lot less intimidating when you meet one.
I'm
if
sure.
If you meet a deadline, then it's not a bad deadline.
Exactly. But there's been things that's been well beyond my capability of taking care of. I asked.
Well, we're not asking you to do the work yourself. I mean, we're asking you to hire somebody to do it. There's a whole yellow pages full of people that can do that work. If you can't do it, just tell us you can't do it, and we will, either move forward with demolition, or you can donate it to this, or you sell it at a low price, or whatever it is your deal is with the Trust for Historic Preservation. I mean, they're a nonprofit organization that can have some resources for restoring historic houses, of which yours is a contributing element in a historic district. So it is important, but
I would like to have the opportunity for them
important.
to say yes or no whether they would be available to work on that house, or have the funds to work on that house once the man takes an assessment of it.
I got Councilman Corbin.
Ms. Wood, was this a family house or your mother's house?
It's was my mother's home.
And I know, and I understand there's an emotional connection to the home and memories and all of that. I got it. And you don't have to answer this, but I feel like I need to ask it. You've stood before us multiple times now, and we've talked about how to move forward with this. Councilman Everson asked if you had made or the city attorney asked if you had made a payment to your previous contractor, and I think it was your second contractor, because another one had defaulted, or maybe even third or fourth. But in the end, if a contractor walked up to you right now, do you have the resources to put $50,000 or $60,000 or whatever it is to get this house up to standards? And if you don't, and that's the issue, please walk away from it, and
May I answer that? My understanding was to get the outside presentable.
Get the outside.
Not to update the whole house for
Get the
$50,000,
outside
$60,000.
to meet code. Get the outside to meet code, or we'll tear down the house and charge you for it. So that's your two choices.
Okay, I kind of see that as being unfair.
It's not unfair. It's the law, and it would be done to anybody who owns any property that's falling down. So either you pay for it to get fixed up, or you let us tear it down, or you can tear it down and get the permits to tear it down, or we can. I wish we had the option of fixing it up and then charging you for it. We don't have that option. So,
but this other
unfortunately, our
company
only
does.
option is that, well, this isn't a company. I mean, they're a charity, and
Right.
they exist to save historic properties
Yes.
across the state.
And that's
then there is
true.
a person who lived in our community who donated a considerable sum of money to a church to save historic properties. So they are a charitable organization, and I just texted the guy to ask if he'd talked to you. He wrote me back and said he had talked to you, that you're only interested in selling, not donating it. So I don't know how much you told him you wanted for it, but I mean, it's not exactly a cash cow anymore. It's either going to cost you some money, you can sell it for what it's worth. I'm not sure what it's worth, but I mean, it's...
And that's where he pointed out, because I asked him who was he, what kind of credentials did he have, because I didn't know this man. And he told me about being an architect and being an inspector. So he would be able to see, he would know if it was good, bad, ugly, whatever. And so, and the way he talked to me over the phone, he sounded like a very nice person, and that
my experience with him has been that he's a reputable
Yeah,
person.
right.
I don't know him super well, but I've met him a few times. He seems
okay, and you know more about him than I do. So I told him, I said, can I have time to speak with my husband, my son, and my brother? And he said yes. He said, just get in contact with me. He's in my phone. I got him. I just need more time, I guess, to visit with him and have him come in.
Councilman Bradford. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I'm trying to reason, and you remember I said at a previous meeting that once these type of issues fall into our lap, we have to be very consistent, because our credibility is by the public is viewed with consistency. Now, Councilman Jefferson, I'm intending to follow what he wants. It's his district. He's getting the complaints from his constituents and neighbors. But we have to move and act on this in some way. Mr. Attorney, tell us her options if we chose to move on this in a negative way. What options does she have?
Well, you have the order to demolish the property at the cost of the homeowner. If they're able to provide proof that they have sufficient resources to demolish at their cost, meaning that they can hire their own contractor, you can approve that as well. But as it stands right now, really your only two options are order demolition or not demolition. And of course, you have your other technical options of postponement.
And she has, if we chose to demo, she has option to appeal.
She can appeal through district court.
Yeah, she can appeal to district court. There's not an administrative appeal process.
That's what I'm saying.
District court, yes.
Yeah, if the house is valued at the level that she's making us to believe.
Right. She has remedies, appeal remedies. Yes, sir.
Right. And Councilman Jefferson.
Say again.
Now I was trying to I mean in a very broad term. How do you feel?
Well, I'll say my frustration is that this is in a pretty nice area.
Okay.
The houses around this are not all falling down.
Okay.
They're pretty nice houses. And the frustration is that if we tear it down,
okay,
then it just becomes an empty, overgrown lot in an otherwise nice area. So I would like to see it built back, because I don't see some. Because if we tear it down, then we put a lien on it, then it goes adjudicated, then no one clearly owns it. It has a messy title, no one can buy it. It sits empty and fallow forever. I mean, it's like we just keep doing this to ourselves. Our property standards process, and this is no fault of the city of Shreveport, though we get blamed for it constantly. This is our state law. But I mean, you enforce a property standard, and all you create for yourself is a lifetime liability of fallow land in an otherwise vibrant neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating that those are our only options. So I'd like to use this opportunity to get her to solve this problem so that we don't have to go that way. I would like to just make a very short-term postponement of this to our next meeting and offer you the opportunity to talk with the Trust for Historic Preservation, First Presbyterian Group, whoever they are. See if you can further that conversation any, and come back to us at our very next meeting. I don't want to let this go I'll be gone soon. Levette is very
but
capable,
she needs to bring
but I don't want to leave her more problems
She needs to bring
than
us
she
some
wants.
documentation. She can't keep saying, I talked to this guy.
I agree.
talked to
I
that
agree.
guy.
I mean, it just needs to be something. There needs to be a real solution sometime soon. And I mean, I know that this is clearly not your top priority. I know you have other things going on in your life. So does everyone else. Like this, but this is going on in your life, and this is happening, and this is real. And if you want this house to remain, you're going to have to do something about it, concrete and real.
Okay, so the gentleman's that I have, his contact number, is he the only one that I need to speak with, or whoever else you're talking about?
I mean, I just want you to have a solution in place.
Okay, I don't know the name of that place or anybody to contact.
Councilman Bradford, was that it? No, there's some. Don Hobby, raise your hand. You say, Ms. Wood, see the guy right there? He has a directory of contractors that can help you.
Well, I mean, this
Presbyterian Church?
Yeah, whatever name y'all came out with.
No, we're saying, all I'm saying is that if the councilman of your district is offering a 2-week postponement, if you could bring us back some documentation that somebody is engaged and going to work and get this done. It doesn't matter if it's a Presbyterian church person or a commercial contractor or individual who has a license and the credentials to do this. We just need to know it's going to be done. Now, what's the status of the permit being done?
Sounds like they did pull a permit to demolish the porch, which was a portion of the structure that was pulling the middle part down. So they did pull a permit to demolish that, but they have not pulled a building permit.
I see.
Because I was told on a demo, taking that down just ourselves, I took out that permit to cover myself. I was told from that office, you do not have to have a permit if you're tearing it down.
But now you understand you do. What I'm asking, and again, I'm going to refer to the councilman, will you be able, in 2 weeks, to engage some people, anybody, and bring us back some documentation that you are now engaged in getting this rehab? Is that possible?
I would love to do that.
Is it possible?
I don't know. Until I try. I don't know that. If somebody would, if they say, we can get on it in a week, we can get on it in 2 days.
Okay, let's just roll this back here.
Okay.
So, how much do you intend to spend on this property to restore it to the standard that is expected? Now, I agree there's 2 numbers. There's the number to solve for property standards. That number is a number that fixes the exterior of this property, but it will never generate any revenue for you or provide a home in that condition. The number to get it to that is significantly more. Now, we can sit here and look at what the tax assessed value of this property is, and I don't need to give that to everybody in the public, but it's public record. It is not a lot of money. That property does not have a lot of intrinsic value. I want you to explain to us how much you intend to spend on it to get it, or you have the means or whatever to spend on it to get it to solve for this property standard piece. I mean, I have very little confidence that you have the resources to do it, nor the intent. And I mean, listen, we're all trying to be nice. Jeff wants to keep it here. Look, I think it'd be great. The best deal for the city of Shreveport is you deed it over to this group right away, today. I mean, it's better than you paying another year of tax on here. Probably not willing to do it, but there's got to be some level of resources that you're willing to commit here today to at least solve for property standards. Otherwise, I don't see us really seeing any value moving forward with this. If you're not going to tell us, hey, I think it's going to cost $5,000 or $10,000, you've had 3 contractors at least come out there and tell you what it's going to cost. I don't know what that number is, but do you have the resources to commit that type of money to doing it?
To answer that question directly, I contracted somebody with the amount that he gave me that I could do, which wasn't a whole lot, but he was going to do it for me.
Do you have that in writing somewhere?
I wrote it down in a notebook what he told me. Because we were sitting in the church.
Okay.
And
Well, what did he say it would cost?
that he would do it for me for $3,000. That he would take the dormer down. That he would remove the covering of the porch, over where the sag is, and then fix the cross beam. He said he would do that for me for that amount. So
And do you have that amount of money?
we took out a loan to get it done.
You took out a loan for that.
Yes. Well, I didn't have that sitting in my pocket.
Okay. So do you have any evidence of that loan?
Well, my husband does.
I mean, and you,
that would be helpful.
that would
I mean-
at least show us that
Well,
you're
yeah,
making
I didn't know I had to
some-
bring that.
What? Okay.
I just didn't know that. I didn't know I had to bring that.
Well, I know you didn't. I'm not
I
suggesting.
would have had it right now for you.
Okay.
If had I known that. I want y'all to know we are our intent. And may I correct a statement that you said
Yes, ma'am.
about my intent? This is the most intimidating place to stand, right here where I am. And I, by me showing up and at least telling you, yes, we want to move forward with this, must stand for something. I'm not wanting to do what I'm trying to stop right now. I am asking y'all to let this man come in with this group. At least let him look at it and tell me something.
Mr. Chairman.
So my motion is to postpone until the 20th. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
All right.
Can we add a stipulation to that she has to either have a commitment from the preservation group?
Somebody.
Yeah, I need something in writing, a
Okay.
solution by the
And
20th.
I do have another question then to ask, and it may I need to direct it to you. Because the house has not been put in my name. How long is it going to take for the house to be put in my name?
You never did a secession?
I mean, that's relative to a secession being done.
Okay, I know nothing about
Well,
successions.
Now I guess I don't have to worry about the title being bad. It's already bad. So that's
Well, I mean,
remove
I-
that from the list of.
And then I can't give you a hard date because I can't advise you as a citizen. But who is it currently titled to right now?
My mother.
Tomorrow?
In care of me.
No. Are you the only heir?
My brother's in Arizona.
It's going to take time.
Excuse me?
I was saying, I'm letting them know it's going to take some time for you to move the title down to your name.
But that does not preclude the motion.
No.
But I mean, I'm willing to go ahead and keep something going on in the house.
The question that Councilman Corbin asks is the stipulation. What would be the stipulation?
Let me.
I think we're better with that. I think
Let me put it this way: is that if you don't have a solution in writing at our in 10 days, we are not likely to grant another extension. You still have district court that you can appeal to, but you're going to have to spend some money there. So, my advice is you don't have to have the transaction completed and a closing taken place and all of that. That doesn't have to happen by the 10 days. But I'd like to see something, a letter of intent, a contract. And by the way, the interesting thing about contractors is they usually write you a contract. So if you're going through a contractor who's just scribbling something on a piece of notebook paper, they might not be as reputable as you
No,
thought
I
they
wrote
were.
it down. I was writing down what he was telling me.
Okay.
I wrote it down.
Well,
So I would
it's
have
good
it.
to get a contract from a contractor. It just
Well, and
sometimes
just
it's
to-
simple.
Just to give a little bit of history there, I did not realize that his company was like his second job, his little thing that he did.
That's okay.
But he gets
That's okay,
deployed
but,
to take care of disaster homes.
That's irrelevant. But we do need to go ahead and vote. I think. Is it clear?
10-day extension, you're saying?
Yeah, it's a 10-day extension to the 20th.
To the 20th.
Let me ask one question. Miss Wood, how long has Miss Angel been, how long has Miss Angel been passed away?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. All right.
But I will say one thing that would be helpful on my decision on the 20th as an aside would be this proof of this loan.
Okay, I need proof.
Why don't you just bring that with you in case we get there.
It's on the table. Motion
Call
by
for the vote.
Jeff Everson, Councilman Everson, and seconded by Councilman Bradford to postpone until
December 20th.
December 20th.
And I have the copy of the check that I wrote to him as well.
Bring everything you can bring.
Excuse me?
Whatever you can bring.
Okay.
Any documentation you can. And you actually don't have to wait till that meeting. You could submit any documentation you have to Mr. Green, by electronically or fax it in or whatever. I mean, you could submit it beforehand. You're welcome to bring it then, but if you want to bring it beforehand, that's not a terrible idea.
There's no other
Okay.
discussion. Please vote. Call for the vote. Motion carries with 6, 1 absent. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and just so I'm straight with what we're,
He can direct it to everything
Oh.
that you need.
okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
We're at the end of the meeting, Mr.
I
Chairman.
think we're down to the end. Was there anything, is there a clerk's report? Let me ask that first.
Not today, Mr. Chairman.
No clerk's report. I wish you had one.
Saving it for the 20th.
Are there any reports from any officers?
First meeting in January.
First meeting in January. No reports? All right. Anything from anyone else? Mayor Tyler?
No, sir, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, two things. Mr. Thompson acted on our behalf, and if you can see him as we try to do what we need to do for that. And the other thing is, Wednesday is Latanya Hogan's birthday. I just want to say that.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Tanya.
Parking, free parking.
Second it. All right, if there's nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned.